Welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Just dropping on your timeline for a little bit. I won't hold you long. I won't hold you long. But as promised for today, I want to talk about a couple of things around routine. And then I'm also going to share a little bit more about the Be Well program, which is launching or which is open for enrollment on Monday, March 21st, and will officially begin April 4th, which is a Monday as well. So we are coming up on it soon, but I first want to highlight what we're talking about in the group this week, which is around routines, right? So I did a poll in the group asking what are the primary challenges to establishing a routine. And I'm going to check that out real quick to see what the latest is. And for most of you, number one in the voting was lack of sleep and being tired. The second one was family obligations and stress. And then the third one was work. So no surprises there, right? No surprises. But I definitely wanted to hear from you guys what it was for you. But I could have imagined that a lot of times it is just being tired and being exhausted. But honestly, the three of those, that trio right there of feeling tired as the foundation, but what is causing you to be tired, oftentimes it is family and work, work and family. Some sort of balance of those two things are typical obstacles. So I want to talk about those three, but I also want to talk about some other ones once starting to establish a routine, what can get in the way of keeping it there, keeping it consistent. And so first and foremost, let's talk about lack of sleep and being tired. You you don't have to say, you don't have to put it in the chat if you don't want to, but think about what are the primary reasons why you're tired. Okay. What else is going on in life that makes it hard for you to settle down, makes it hard for you to stay asleep, has you waking up in the middle of the night, has you waking up early? Think about those things because those are honestly, I know lack of sleep is the observable thing, like the thing that impacts us, seems to impact us or be noticeable the most. But really, it's probably those other things that really need to be tweaked so that you can sleep, so that you can get on to a different routine. So always be thinking about, okay, this is what I'm experiencing that seems like the first thing that's getting in the way, but maybe there's something else that is impacting that, influencing that symptom for me. And so, how am I addressing the lack of sleep part of my life? How am I going to navigate the other things in my life so that I can get more sleep and be more productive and make time for yourself? I think that's what this is all about when it comes to a routine, is making sure that you're making time for yourself. I posted a tweet yesterday talking about, do you have a solid routine? Do you have a schedule at all, or is busyness just dragging you? And I've been there before where like it's like, oh yeah, I got this on Monday, and then I'm gonna do this and that and this and that, and I go down, and then Tuesdays this and that. And it's like, but honestly, it's a schedule and it's things that I have to show up for, but it's not necessarily a routine that's serving me as an individual woman that needs rest, that needs to be poured into, that needs to move my body, that needs to eat well. That routine is kind of just dragging me to and from one obligation at one time of the day to another obligation, and then I'm fitting in me in between. So if that sounds like you can raise your hand. We can all touch and agree on that one together, but it is possible to have a different experience, okay? So, first things I will say about dealing with stress, dealing with lack of sleep, is boundaries, okay? Boundaries is the number one thing that can help you to manage those things better. I know when you're in the thick of being stressed out and overwhelmed, it seems really hard to find a way to set boundaries and to say no. But I always like to think of it as me setting boundaries to take care of myself. You setting boundaries to take care of yourself is going to be an asset to showing up in those spaces and not being tired, exhausted, resentful, frustrated, irritable, impatient, and all the other things that come with being overwhelmed and still trying to show up with other people. So try to look at boundaries as being, this is my way of protecting myself so that I can be my best self for for myself, but also for other people. Okay. Sometimes guilt can kind of keep us from saying, hey, no, I'm not going to be able to do that at that time. I have a lot on my plate. I'm not going to be able to follow through with, the previous agreement that I made with you. Setting those boundaries really seems hard and can lead to feeling guilty, but ultimately it's the solution. It's the long term, because you know we're about the long game. It's the long term solution to some of those challenges. So setting boundaries and saying no when under a lot of stress and overwhelm is going to be the number one thing. What does that look like for work? That looks like at work, leaving work at work is probably the primary thing that can potentially help you. I know a lot of us are working from home, and so the boundaries around that can get a little tricky, because it's like usually when you leave the office, it's like my laptop or my whatever is at the office, I'll be back tomorrow. But when you're working from home, your laptop's right there, the paperwork's staring you in the face. It's kind of hard to say, you know what, this is my stopping point, but that would be a boundary with work. I've got to shut it off. I've got to pace myself and do some other things so that I'm not tired, exhausted, irritable, resentful the next morning when work is staring me in the face again. Okay, so that's what that can look like for work. And of course, for family obligations and stress, I know that everyone in this group is a woman, and so I know that for us as women, especially as nurturers and caretakers, it can be very hard to know how and when and with who to set those boundaries. But ultimately realizing that you are a part of your family, you are also an important role in your family, and so how can you preserve yourself to help your family function better or function more independently, or whatever the case may be. Always trying to flip it to say that if I take care of me, I can better show up for the other people in my life. Okay, so that's the number one killer. I will agree with you guys that lack of sleep, being tired, is definitely one of those things, and then the other two are probably likely causing you to have a lack of sleep and to be tired throughout the day. So the next thing I will say is a routine killer is having the wrong routine. So all these are going to kind of flow together, but having the wrong routine. So if I'm lacking sleep and I'm tired and I'm not able to implement the ideal routine that I want to have in this area of my life, maybe I should start with my sleep routine. What is your sleep routine? Some of us, again, go from busy to busier to busiest, and then we just collapse in the bed and our mind is still racing. Our to-do list is still like taking up space. We're still working from our phone. We're still doing all these things. That is not a sleep routine. That is not going to help you get a restful night of sleep, and thus it's going to affect the way you show up the next day. So I would say that is the routine that should be a priority, the right one for you, or getting the most focus. Okay, so I may want to make a routine of, let me say, let's just say cleaning more regularly. Okay, laundry, dishes, whatever. Ugh, it's just piling up on me. I can't can't keep track of it and everything like that because I'm so tired and I'm exhausted and this and that. And it's like the first thought is to say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take care of this, and that's going to be my routine. But if you never focus on, I'm not getting enough sleep, that's the routine that maybe needs to have a priority in that moment, so that you can have the mental clarity and the energy to actually implement a solid routine for cleaning. It probably is. It's going to require more energy from you. So looking at what routine am I trying to implement, and is that actually the routine that I really need to be focused on? Is that really going to energize me and help me to focus more? Or does that just sound nice? And does it sound like it would be a good thing for me to do? I always talk about this with people with their morning routine. If you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, it's a trendy thing right now for reels to show, here's my morning routine. I wake up and I open my blinds and I make my bed and I light a candle and I wipe down this and then I float over to my devotional and I journal and I meditate. And then it's like, and it's all these nice things. And that really would be great if that was realistic for most of us. But sometimes that's not the routine we need to be focused on. I need to focus on, again, my nighttime routine is basically the one that really needs a highlight here so that I could show up and have a solid morning routine. Okay, so that's the second one, is you're working towards the wrong routine for the time being. Again, all routines can be helpful. Which one needs to be the priority? And then number three is, once you have established a routine, maybe, and you're in the flows of it, sometimes getting off of that routine just really throws us off. I'm discombobulated. I can't think of another way to implement it. I can't think of, oh gosh, I didn't do this, so now it just affects, it has a domino effect for the rest of the day. And that's where I would say that sometimes our routines, in theory, can be a little too rigid. Okay? And then sometimes it's like, if it's not the ideal, if it's not the way I actually set out to do it, my plans are thrown off. I can't find another way to take care of some things, to tweak some things, to adjust and go with the flow. And so therefore I say, forget it. Forget it. I didn't get to wake up and do the 5-step routine that I sometimes get to do. And so now I'm just whatever, I'll start tomorrow. That is definitely not going to help you practice implementing some things that'll ultimately help you to build to that ideal set point for a routine. So I always recommend do what you can. Okay, I talk about this with exercise with my coaching clients. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I didn't have time. I ran out of time. I wasn't going to be able to get to the warm up, the workout, and the cool down, and the walk." And I always say, well, let's think about what you could have done out of those tasks. Okay, so you can't do the full workout. Okay, cool. Could you have done the stretch session? Stretch session is 10 minutes long. Could you have squeezed in that, instead of saying, I can't do the whole thing, I'll just do it tomorrow? Do something, make that time, so that as you go, you're able to practice making the time. Unless you practice making the time, it's really going to be hard to just kill it and knock out an hour obligation on a regular basis. Sometimes it starts with 10 minutes, which is really where the movement challenge came from, that we did earlier this year, was about starting small and then building on that so that you can actually, achieve what is really going to be most helpful to you. And that applies to everything. That is not just a, physical activity type of approach. That is my recommended approach for basically everything. Start small and build. Start small for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then take it up a notch. Don't throw the whole thing away just because one part of it did not work out. Okay, so those are my three. All right, so our routine killers are lack of sleep and being tired, mental and emotional experience there of being exhausted, and how can we work on that? That's boundaries, saying no, making sure that you are making yourself a priority. Number two is, the second routine killer is having the wrong routine for what's actually needed. So look at what the culprit is of not being able to implement the routine that you had in mind, and then segue and go address that routine first, so that you can then eventually implement the one that you're actually, hoping to add in to your life. Okay. And then the last thing is trying your best to be flexible and think about, okay, if that ideal plan A doesn't work out, here's what I can do instead. Again, with a workout situation, if I can't get the full workout in, I can go for a 10-minute walk, because the benefits of doing that mentally and emotionally for me are still going to be present. Okay, so no, it wasn't the full thing, but I still tapped in, took care of myself, got some sunlight, moved my body, stretched my body, and so now that's a positive reinforcement for making sure that that routine continues moving forward. Okay, so I feel free to ask me questions. I know this is a lunchtime live. I like to do these in the middle of the day so that you guys have some time the rest of the day to watch this back if you are watching the replay. But feel free to comment, let me know what you think about those. Let me know if you have any questions. And I want to spend the last part of this video sharing with you guys about Be Well. Be Well is my signature program. I'm super excited about taking some women through this cohort period that's going to be April and May. So most of spring will be in the midst of the program, working on some things. And so Be Well is an 8-week course / program. And we go through many of the topics that I talk about here in this group, many of the mental and emotional factors that come into living a sustainable lifestyle. So it's a two-pronged thing where you'll have an educational like workbook type of thing with some journal prompts and some reflection questions and some assignments, almost like a course, styled like a course. And then you'll also have a movement / exercise program that not only supports whatever physical health goals you have, but also the ideas that it would pour back into you mentally as well. Okay, so we know there are lots of mental health benefits of exercise and movement, and that is one of the priorities in the program, is how can I use the movement that I enjoy to benefit my mental and emotional state. All right, so some of those educational courses that I mentioned will be talking about your relationship with food, relationship with your body, and your relationship with exercise. Many of us have an unhealthy relationship with exercise, whether it is an extreme one or seeing it in a negative light due to diet culture. And we're going to really start to look at that, debunk some of those issues, unlearn them, and try to implement a new mindset in talking about and looking at exercise so that you can do it and feel like it's a good asset to your life and not a burden or a place of shame for you. Okay, other things we'll talk about is self-sabotage, getting in your own way, more or less like what we're talking about with the routine killers. What is that cycle? I start, I'm doing well, something happens, I get off, I stay off, I feel bad about myself, and then somehow I eventually, hopefully, try again, I do well, I slack off, something happens, I feel bad about it, I throw the whole routine away, and then now I'm back at square one. We want to figure out what that is, what that self-sabotage point is for you, where there's an obstacle, and how are you dealing with that obstacle to help yourself continue to move forward. And another thing that we'll talk about is negative thought cycles, self-esteem, just your self-talk in general. What does that sound like? What are some of the things that you're telling yourself, and how is that moving you toward your goals, or really a detriment to your goals overall? All right, so Be Well is an 8-week course, 8-week program. It is solely online, virtual, and through the app that I use with my clients. There are regular accountability check-in points each week on Sundays and on Fridays. We have coaching calls on a bi-weekly basis where we'll review those weekly assignments that will be assigned to week 1 through 8. You'll have an assignment. We'll review those in the coaching calls. You'll get to talk to me and better understand and get some, have a sounding board and get some feedback around some of the issues that you're facing, so that when the program is over, you have a solid foundation. You have a solid understanding of who you are, what you need, what your coping skills should be, so that you can maintain what you've built after the course is over with. And so I'm accepting 10. 10 is going to be the max of women that I'm going to accept into the group, so that I can make sure I'm pouring into you all and giving you the support that you need. Sometimes if a program gets too large, it starts to feel a little robotic, a little disconnected, and I want to make sure that you guys feel like I am there for you. And 10 is usually the max for that. But also the community of those other women with you is going to really, honestly, I do help, and I do, I do my job as a coach, but honestly, the community support of having like-minded women to pursue this program with is really a game changer. That really is a large part of it. And I'm sure you guys could see that just from some of the stuff we did with the Movement Challenge. Having that community support and accountability really is the GOAT. it's the GOAT. You know, I'm there. I'm gonna educate. I'm gonna hold you accountable. I'm gonna call some things out and make you aware of some things and try to encourage you on pass through it. But honestly, the community of doing it with other people is what sets this program apart, in addition to the focus on mental and emotional wellness as well. So that is all I have for today. I just wanted to highlight that. If you're interested in applying for the Be Well program, you can find the application, an overview, an FAQ section with more of a breakdown of what to expect on my website. That's b3bykristen.com/be well. I'll put that link underneath the video so that you guys will have it. And the application is there as well. It is an application program, and I like to do that just to make sure that it's a good fit. And it's a good time for you. Sometimes it's just, for whatever reason, not the right time or not the right fit. And so I really want to make sure of that as we go in. And if it's not, let's talk through what needs to shift in order to make time and to make the program a priority. But if that is you, is something that I said today feels in alignment with what you're looking for, go ahead and apply. Go ahead and apply. Let's get on a consultation call and let's get you started. 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away, the program will be starting. I'm going to go ahead and open enrollment next week so that we can get you guys onboarded and comfortable. And just, sometimes you just need to, how you get to a place early so you can so you can understand the lay of the land and do what you need to do. That's what the enrollment period is going to be about. It's just kind of like a segue before it's go time on Monday, April 4th. Okay, so let me check and see if I have any questions or any comments. All right, nothing coming in as of right now. That is totally okay. And so I thank you all for joining this, whether you're watching live or you're going to watch it later. Feel free to ask me any questions about the routine killers that I mentioned today, or you can ask me more information about the Be Well program, and I'll get you connected with that information as soon as possible. And happy Tuesday, y'all. I will be back next Tuesday at 12:30 with a brand new topic, checking in with you guys. And yeah, take care. Bye.